Carry on, Kathleen, thanks.
Okay. So I just thought I'd give a briefing here what each department does in relationship to the market. And of course, the police have to do a lot of impounds of parked cars. They do add extra patrol certain times of the year for the market. They open up their restrooms at the police department for additional restrooms for the market. And then they do a lot of placement of barricades and, of course, parking enforcement. I said what the water department does with the hand washing stations, the drinking fountain maintenance, gray water installation, quick couplers. There's an array of things that the water department does. Engineering, mapping, printing, layout, color coding, administration. Even though the farmers market is in my department, we get a lot of transferred calls from other departments, and if our phone lines are busy, then the call gets routed. So again, Lori Lewis does answer a lot of questions and takes a lot of calls about the farmers market. We also answer a lot of calls from the public about the market. It's not just vendors, but the public in general. And Parks and Rec gets a lot of calls as well about the market. Park and Rec handles a lot of our garbage, well, all of our garbage, barricades. They do fountain maintenance in preparation. They clean Friendship Square in preparation for the market. It doesn't matter where the market is. They clean Friendship Square for the market on Saturday. And then they do a lot of electrical maintenance on all the electrical plugs and everything that we're tapping now in Friendship Square. The street department cleans downtown. They clean the parking lot, hang the banners that are in the Jackson Street lot, signs. They do a lot of traffic control and street closure. And then we need the fire department to do safety inspection for food vendors and to make sure that they're in compliance. And then the arts department, I just listed pretty much what we do as it's related to the market, whether it's not just vendor registration and fee collection, but booking, scheduling, contracting, Moscow Farmers Market Advisory Board meetings, checks, budget, materials, equipment, hiring, training, the coordinator for the market, the sound technician for the market, special event coordination. We're due to do our press release for any event or group in town that wants to do a special event this summer at the market. We've already heard for the Bike for Life in Gritman and different things that will reoccur this summer. So we're starting to put those schedules together. We facilitate a food and craft jury that'll be in March for vendors. I've already talked to Nancy Becker with the health department about doing an information night for the public, for folks that want to do food at the market, because there's a new food and safety law that the federal government passed, so we'll have to look at how that pertains to the market. So we do a lot of strategy, mapping, planning, and we answer a lot of questions. That's probably the number one thing we do. We answer the phone. So this is how the fees broke down between 2012 and 2013. And the booth size went up from 10 by 10. The alley space, I think, was 5 by 6. But all the spaces now are 11 by 15 on Main Street. The walk-on fees went up. A table space, which primarily most of the walk-ons are table space folks versus a full space. We might get a truck farmer that wants a full space. And the corner spaces did not go up. Truck parking went up a little bit for the season. Electrical went up because now we know what the cost of electrical is at Friendship Square. The walk-on children vendors went up a little bit, and the walk-on performance. So the configuration in the parking lot was quite different than on Main Street because several vendors were considered to have a high profile or a higher stall rate because of their position in the market, where they were located in the market. Having the market on Main Street kind of equalized a lot of that positioning. So some vendors, 1 and 21, 10, 11, and 12, their fees went down, as you can see, from 12 to 13. So, any questions?
Dan?
Stan.
In the lot, just looking at numbers, there were, with the alley spaces, 70 spaces. Mm-hmm. How many are there on Main Street?
It depends if the market is just from third to fifth.
Let's say from 3rd to 6th.
That's quite a bit more. That's about 80.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Questions?
Walter?
Your first two categories are 10 by 10s in 2012 in the parking lot, and on Main Street are 11 by 15s.
Correct.
Is any of the price change related to square footage, or is the change in size just a product of how they lay out in Main Street? In other words, you've got more depth from curb out to where you need the fire lane, but just by Public Works drawing it on a piece of paper.
Well, and also
Is there any change in the square footage that these vendor spaces have? Why not go to 10 by 10s on Main Street, I guess is my question. That's one way to put it.
go back to 10 by 10s? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, I'm just asking the question.
The reason the 11 by 15s were laid out was with engineering, police, traffic, fire department, because we needed to have an exact size for a fire lane.
Okay, that was my
So
thought.
that afforded us space to go out
Okay.
farther. The parking lot was quite restricted for space, but the 11 by 15 mathematically worked out really good. The other problem we had in the 10 by 10s is because of the tent weights that are required on each corner of the tent, we had a lot of overlap next to vendors and people complaining that their space was in their other space and tent weights were commingled. And this way, they have plenty of room for their tent weights. They can comply with the tent weight and not interfere with their vendor next to them.
So if I may.
But their square footage did increase quite a bit.
Okay, but you didn't increase it just to give them more space and charge them more. It
No.
increased for logistical reasons,
Right.
physical space ability. They gained a foot in width, but the 15 feet was because of the fire lane in the middle of Main Street, and that's what you got on the sides of it. So
And it afforded more space.
afforded more space.
Yep.
Elbow room, if you will.
If you can break down the real estate, though, and equate it to 10 by 10 or 8 by 12 or 5 by 6, if you want to compare, to other markets, you can break it down that way. I chose not to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Dan?
But I think that the key that I was getting from what Walter was asking, the space has no bearing on the fee.
No.
Those are two completely unrelated. It's just
way it worked
space
out.
fit because that's what fit.
Right.
It might have been 14 by 20s.
Right.
It depended on, but this is what
Right.
fits. And
This
but
was what's safe.
the fees are unrelated to the space,
Right.
the size. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Sue?
Go ahead, Sue. I had asked you earlier if someone wanted a smaller table, didn't want that much space, and you had indicated that people could share.
Yeah, in the policies, they can share spaces.
And how does that work? Because that wasn't written up in the report, and I hadn't seen that before. How does that work?
In the Farmers Market Advisory Board, the policies that we pass for the market, it's in the policies that if vendors want to share a space, we can facilitate that. And we have done that. Where vendors might not have enough product and they might want to commingle their spaces. And we've done that in the past. We just did that in 12. So.
Okay. Continue. Thanks.
Any other questions? Any other answers? Okay. So I'm closing this report with Allison Meyer. This was our poster this year, and then this will just be a slideshow of some of the photographs that Allison Meyer took of the market, which is really nice. So these she's given us the rights to put these photographs on the Moscow Farmers Market Facebook site, which is has over 804 friends.
Who's that lady?
Yeah. And then
used to
we just established an account with the Commerce Department, Idaho Tourism, and these photos are linked on there as well. So it's pretty nice. Any other questions? Walter?
Sue?
I'd heard,
So-
and of course, rumors are rumors, but I'd heard that Backyard Harvest might not be doing the same thing next year. Would someone
Yeah.
else take over the snaps?
Yeah, if
the
we
EDT
run into a problem with facilitation, I think we could just do a RFQ. There's a lot of community members that have expressed interest, community groups that might want to take that over.
So the market itself doesn't do that. It has to go through a third.
Right,
Party,
according
how
to
does that
Don
work?
Palmer, we don't run commodities through our books. So we've always had a third party facilitate EBT, and that's pretty standard. So,
Yeah. Walter?
Thank you. Your 2012 farmers market revenue of $27,275 from one of your previous slides, did that include, it didn't include any of the new fees? It was
No.
all based upon the old fees?
correct.
Have you projected what the new fees will generate in terms of total dollars in 2013?
I think in the budget, I've raised that by $2,500. I'd have to pull the budget up. I don't have my budget book with me. But
The increased fees would only raise total revenue $2,500?
no, I don't have my book with me. But
Tom may have a response too. Tom?
yeah,
I think
I think
I
it-
remember Don saying,
Yeah.
confirming that what Walter is asking. When I was at the committee meeting, I asked Don in the audience, and I think he said that the delta of the 12 fees and the 13 fees is $2,500.
Right.
That that the city would receive if those were the fees charged.
right.
I
So that
guess-
would be.
I haven't done the math to confirm that, but that's what he
That's
told me.
Per week or per season?
For the
Season.
If I may,
Please.
I haven't done the math. I don't know the answer to the question, and I didn't think of it ahead of time to give you an opportunity to look it up and have it ready, but
It'll go up to about, we're hoping to collect, I mean, I've been tasked in my budget to collect 29,000 plus. This last year.
I
it
guess
was-
what's got me a little puzzled, and we're not going to work this out tonight, but with the majority of the spaces, it appears, moving from $201.60 to $312, which is a 55% increase. I'm a little puzzled why we only generate 10% increased total revenue.
If I may,
Gary?
Yeah,
Don, and I don't have the breakdown, maybe you do, Kathleen. The bulk of the income for the farmer's market is made from walk-ons, not on,
a substantial amount.
yeah, do you have that?
Yeah.
There you go.
So we
Excuse me,
collect
not
from
the bulk.
52 season vendors, but we average about 132 a season in walk-ons. So, and if you add up the fee difference, I don't know by raising the fees, if the 312, we're going to have some loss there.
You have some loss in your second category.
Yes, because we won't be charging people $465 a stall fee or $795 a stall fee. The season vendors will all be charged $312.
Okay,
So there will be some loss there,
okay.
but we're hoping that we'll possibly be able to accommodate more farmers, more trucks because of the 11 by 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right,
And
thank you.
again, if I may, again, I apologize for Don being sick tonight. He's the one who had done the estimation on these or applied the fees to the existing markets, so I'm unable to recreate that.
Yep.
So Tom's got the budget book out there. We'll see if we come up with
Madam Mayor.
something.
I'm going to
Yeah.
play Don.
Just
Yeah.
Oh, no.
from the minutes of that meeting
It might take, you might be shorter.
last Thursday, Dawn said that the subsidy would still be more than 54,000
We
for
need to-
next year. But the overall adjustment would be about 10%, because some fees were raised more than others to work out to that.
Exactly.
Okay. Which is the 2,700.
Right.
Right.
And some were reduced as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for Kathleen?
This is, if you go back on the website, there's the 10 report and also the 11 report, and this is way more detailed of a report. I didn't have my staff line itemed out in the 11 or the 10. I didn't have my hours in there or my arts assistant's hours in there. So we were a little more realistic with our numbers with this report, because I was tasked to be a little more realistic. So,
Okay, Dan?
You know, and I guess just for discussion's sake, we don't, what has our subsidy been for the 32 years prior to you starting to make that report? I mean, it could have been more. I mean, I'm sure Don would know, probably off the top of his head. Don would know. He can figure it out. Anyway.
If I may.
Sure, Gary.
Yeah, and part of the issues we talked about in the committee meeting is, for years, there was no real accounting done on, the council's policy wasn't stated as to how much they wanted to recover from fees on the farmer's market. It was just one of the duties of the arts director, and the arts director, when I first started with Moscow, was less than a half-time position, 19 hours a week, usually done by a University of Idaho graduate student. Since that time, we've gone to a three-quarter-time arts director, to full-time, to having to have a market manager and an assistant. So the duties have blossomed. And those duties, until about 3 years ago, when I asked Kathleen, or we asked Kathleen to start accounting for that time, because you can lose a lot of time in a project if you don't keep some accounting of the time. You lose a lot of the salary that you're paying somebody without ever knowing where it's gone. So that's why you're seeing some of this come up. So I doubt even Don with his magic books can tell us exactly how much subsidies there have been, but and still we haven't accounted for everything. And we learn more year by year, and that's what you're seeing here.
Now, Tim, I understand the Public Works Finance Committee talked about this and at its last meeting, and that you heard from some vendors and others who are interested in the farmers market. I know some are probably here tonight wanting a chance to speak too, but let me ask you how that meeting went and what did you think about it?
Well, I thought the meeting went well. I think we, out of an hour and a half, typical Public Works Finance Committee meeting, we dedicated about an hour. That was the last item on our agenda, so we actually ran over, I don't know, 10 minutes. So that we could hear everybody, and I think it was a good discussion back and forth. I thought there was, and hopefully Kathleen isn't looking at me, so I can't read her eyes, but there were some good suggestions, I thought, that
yes,
came
there
out.
were.
Sue brought up one about splitting one large booth into two and making it more reasonable.